Welcome back to another episode of Decentralized Chain. It's Feroz, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about an opportunity which I think certainly has the 100x potential. I know how corny that sounds, but stay tuned to find out a bit more for all you Dogecoin holders out there. So welcome back, guys, to another episode of Decentralized Chain. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like button below and the bell notification icon. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. Better still, come and join us over in the Telegram community as well. There's plenty of alpha being shared there. Now, as I mentioned before, today's episode is really going to be focused for all you Dogecoin fans out there. Now, Dogecoin has been around pretty much forever, and it's one of the OG meme coins. Simple as that. It has a massive community behind it. By community, I'm talking about community as in everyday crypto people, but also it has a lot of attention. Ice Cube recently tweeted, "Come on with it, Bill. You know I'm down with the Doge army." And let's be honest, Ice Cube does have about 5.7 million followers. So when he's talking about Doge, people are going to be interested in terms of what is Doge. But not just Ice Cube. Obviously you've got Elon. Elon's been a big supporter of Dogecoin all the way through, even with his recent acquisition of Twitter. There is talk about how they can use Dogecoin to solve, spam within Twitter as well, alongside Mark Cuban. So there's lots of attention being drawn to Dogecoin all the time. The prices are always soaring, so it gets significant visibility. And likewise, you've also got the Robinhood CEO also saying that Dogecoin could become internet's currency. And there is a big push for Dogecoin from Robinhood in itself. Now, the issue, however, does lie that with Dogecoin today, whilst it has an amazing community behind it, beyond that, there isn't really much more to it other than it being a meme coin, and that's it. And by that, what I mean is that, there are no NFTs, there are no DeFi, there are no yield opportunities, there's no GameFi opportunities when it comes to Dogecoin. And so other than the utility of really holding and praying that your Doge will hit $1 soon one day, there isn't really much more that you can do with it. And that being said, this is where we see the opportunity for, that's right, you've guessed it, and we were going there, Dogechain. That's right. So we've got our own Dogechain here. And the idea behind Dogechain is that it's going to provide all of those items that we just discussed, where it's NFTs, gaming, DeFi, but bringing it to the Dogecoin community. And so the idea behind that is that existing holders can bring their Doge onto the Dogechain platform, right? And so for those who aren't familiar, actually, this was tweeted the other day by the co-founder of Polygon, and he said a dollar Dogechain at Elon Musk. This is kind of where I pretty much heard about it the first time, actually, is that here we have a fork of Polygon Edge. And those who aren't familiar with Polygon Edge, the idea behind it is that it's a framework. It's like a modular framework. It brings various Ethereum compatible blockchain networks, side chains, general scaling solutions to the forefront. So the idea is that you can ultimately be able to have all of those benefits, right? But also the more important thing is that it allows really bootstrapping of any new blockchain network. And this is where Dogecoin comes in. It is a new blockchain network. And so it kind of gives you all of those items that you need from the get-go for Ethereum compatibility. Better still, obviously, one of the key things here today is inter-chain operability, right? If a chain isn't interoperable, how are you actually going to get tokens onto the actual chain itself? How are you going to get Dogecoin onto Dogechain? And so this is where this extends itself and allows you to do that. So just some of the technicalities behind that out the way. But now let's jump back into Dogecoin. So Dogecoin, Dogechain, this is what we have. As I mentioned before, now there's things that you can do with your Doge, such as NFTs. Now you're going to have the opportunity to be able to participate in DeFi as well with Doge. So you have a whole new ecosystem being built. And the best part about it is that the Dogecoin community itself is massive. So there is clearly going to be a big push behind it from the community as well to be able to do more with just holding their coins. And also, the gas on Dogechain, that's right, you guessed it, is Doge. So now imagine if the economics of this were to actually extrapolate, grow, and be viable to a certain extent, then depending on how heavily the ecosystem is used by the Dogecoin community, you could potentially have on the cards a deflationary Dogecoin. Something to bear in mind. And you know what deflation does in order to some coins, some of the actual popular coins, is that you generally see a price go up. So beyond being able to now start bringing utility, obviously using Dogecoin as a gas mechanism, and obviously because it's Polygon Edge, you are benefiting from all of the fast transaction speeds, cheap fees, gas fees, because let's face it, if you want to do any of that stuff on Ethereum, unless you've got a decent volume of what you're planning to trade or interact with, the gas fees versus the benefits that you get, or the fees or the revenue that you generate, does sometimes tend to get offset. So really there's an opportunity. And obviously one of the main things behind it is that you have a massive Dogecoin community already behind it. So ultimately trust in Doge. Now, the interesting part is obviously they talk about fairness for everyone. So the idea behind that is that there isn't really going to be one massive, holder of the Dogechain tokens itself, because it will also have its own governance token, which is Dogechain. And we'll talk a bit more about exactly how much of all of that is. And so, like I said, no early VCs, no scary dumps. It is pretty much a fair launch. And there's lots of ways to actually get hold of Dogechain, right? First of all, Doge holders will get free Dogechain dropped to them. So certainly go and check out the details to understand what that ratio is going to be like. But in order to get that, you will have to bridge your Dogecoin onto Dogechain. So therefore, you're wrapping it up to kind of use it on the actual Dogechain network. Obviously, you can buy more Dogechain as well, so you can get more cheap fees. And obviously Doge on Robinhood. So those who have their Dogecoin locked on Robinhood, what I understand, there is a certain amount that has also been locked in terms of from the Dogechain tokens in order to be able to airdrop the Dogechain tokens to the Dogechain holders from Robinhood as well. So there's lots of avenues that have been thought about when it comes to doing all these things. And the other thing is, obviously we spoke about tokenomics here briefly, but the good part about it from, what I've seen is that it is fair distribution. It's important that we have the likes of fair distribution when it comes to tokenomics, because it's important. If you don't have that, you get dumps, you get discontent amongst community members. Projects don't tend to usually go that far, right? And so here, there's airdropping, there's locks over 4-year periods. There's no big, huge amounts being dropped to everybody. There is, a good amount of thought that has gone behind airdropping to the actual community as well. So check out the white paper, because there is clearly lots said about this and it kind of goes into detail. But, based on what I've seen so far and what we can see in the descriptions that we have available to us, it is a fair launch, and everybody does love a fair launch. Now, the other thing is obviously growth. You need to see the token in terms of growth. You need to see obviously marketing coming into it as well. And here there is lots going on every day, right? So there's giveaways and prizes currently happening leading up to the launch of the chain itself in terms of the actual Dogechain blockchain. So you've got $1,000 being given away every day for the month of May, right? And that's already happening now. You just got to go and retweet, participate like you do in most of the marketing that happens behind it. So that's really good as well. Also, the other thing is from giveaways is that those who stake their Doge ultimately on Dogechain itself, once you bridge it over, you're going to get airdrops of $DC, which is the native token for the Dogechain blockchain. So, there's lots of incentives for people to kind of ultimately migrate their tokens over onto the actual Dogechain itself. So certainly worth watching that out for. And there's lots, actually, from what I understand and from what I've been looking at within their Telegram channel in terms of coming up. We've got, liquidity provisions coming up. NFTs. I think NFTs are going to be quite big on the Dogechain network just because it's got such a huge community behind it. And, those communities are made up of various individuals, various individuals that know and understand the tokenomics, know and understand what works well from an NFT perspective. And this is important because I would say that when artists are looking to ultimately get known, one thing that you will start seeing a lot of is, you kind of go to the communities that have the biggest support. And so here, where we have the Dogecoin community, obviously, riding behind the back of Dogechain itself, when we see NFTs launching on this, they're going to be a big thing, and you're going to be able to tap into that community as well. So you get a chance to be part of something early on as well. So there's lots of things like this that you need to sort of look forward to, because if the other thing that you need to look at it as that, like we see with some of the other, L1s that have come already, like Avalanche, for example, there is an opportunity whereby you can see some of the stuff that's already worked on Ethereum, right? Projects, dApps that work on Ethereum. And what you do tend to see over time is those similar types of projects do also crop up on other chains. And when they do, that gives you an opportunity to jump back in as well and be able to ride in some of that success. And because it is an EVM compatible blockchain, Ethereal Virtual Machine compatible blockchain, what that does mean is that projects that have seen success on other EVMs have a very easy way of porting over onto Dogechain itself. So then you start getting some of that greatness also moving over. Because we see a lot of that, where we see a lot of value locked in a given chain, you do tend to see projects also launching, major projects also launching on those chains as well to tap into that value. So certainly one thing that you definitely want to look out for. So anyway, this was just my quick overview of Dogechain. I think there are some big things coming for it. In fact, obviously, one of the things that we don't know is, what is the price of the $DC token as well, right? Because let's be honest, we all want to also make money within crypto. And I think if we kind of have a look at what Dogechain, or what should I say, Dogecoin started off at, we were in the decimals. When it comes to if we look at it from a USD perspective, they are in the decimals here, third decimal places. I would suspect we must be looking at something similar. Okay, it has to be something similar. And look, even if you look at Dogecoin itself and where it is now, just look at it. I mean, it pumped all the way up to 70 cent. Fine, it's floating at around 14 cent now. But let's be honest, if we're looking at decimals in terms of the starting figure, and you have all of these community members, locking in their tokens on Dogechain, you have then lots of projects coming in onto Dogechain itself, there is a utility being built up here as well, right? There is utility, and obviously as you see utility, as you see actual chains being used heavily by projects, it naturally does have an upward movement on the price. And so I genuinely believe there is a 100x opportunity here when it comes to looking at Dogechain. Anyway, I'm going to leave it on that. If you like this content, don't forget to hit the like button below. Certainly subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of my upcoming content. I'm going to cover Dogechain quite heavily on my channel, I think, because this is something that I think has some great legs behind it, and certainly has an opportunity for everybody in crypto to be able to benefit from it as well. And I will see you on the next episode.